Okay, so you sit on top of all that and kind of keep the ship moving. And we
Yep.
talked before. This was you are doing so much in paving the way for the handyman industry and getting it up to what HVAC is, what plumbing is, what a lot of most other home services are. And so I imagine because of that, it's not like you can just reach out to another handyman company that in town or town next door and a group somewhere that's also projected to do they're trying to do 5 million. Like, hey, how are you structuring things? So I get the feel like you're kind of just adjusting based on kind of what's coming into the business, and then also your experience in previous home service businesses. I'm guessing that has a lot to do with how you're structuring, like planning the future growth of the business.
Yes. So to me, my background's HVAC. So you have your service side and then you have your install side.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do as handyman, light remodeling, whatever you want to call it, is very, very similar. It's primarily customer service. And I think that's the biggest thing that handyman guys miss is customer service aspect of it. Because, I'll tell you, I took a notepad when we came up with this idea and I said, what do people hate? What do people not like about doing business with contractors and handyman?
Mm-hmm.
My list consisted of they don't answer their phone. They never call back. They don't show up when they say they're going to show up. You don't know who's coming to your house. Their vehicles aren't clean. The list goes on and on, but primarily it was communication type issues,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the typical handyman guy, it's really not his fault. He's in a truck, he's by himself. He's trying to answer the phones, buy the materials, price the jobs, do everything himself. And there's just not enough bandwidth. I've done it. It's my third business to start from scratch. So it's very, very, very difficult. Being bigger like this and having all these employees is difficult, but in a completely different way. So when we started this and kind of go back into the handyman industry, I was like, I need to build systems and processes that are scalable.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to make sure that this list of stuff people don't like about doing business with us, my processes keep us from doing this.
Right.
It's still going to happen. 5% of the time we didn't call somebody back. It's going to happen. If you're going to book 600 calls a month, you're going to forget to
Mm-hmm.
call somebody back. It's just going to happen. But no, this industry that we're in like what you guys are talking about, it is a wide open market.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody watching this podcast should be super excited because nobody is in this industry doing it. HVAC's built up, electrical's pretty built up. I got in the HVAC world, I got 150 competitors, and many of them are doing millions and millions of dollars a year in the Dallas Fort Worth market in heating and air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
How many are doing millions of dollars a year in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex in handyman work? Mr. Handyman.
Yeah, not a whole
I
lot.
can't I can't find anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I've looked. So going back to what you guys said, my first post in the handyman network was it Business Mastery?
Handyman Mastermind Group on Facebook.
Yeah, thank you. Your group there was me asking if anybody knows of anybody with a large handyman business that I could go visit. And man, love everybody to death, but they beat me up pretty hardcore, telling me I was insane and it doesn't exist.
You
Because
can't do it. Yeah.
yeah, in my HVAC career, I've always networked with other large HVAC company owners, managers, and I will get on an airplane and fly to California and go ride with their techs, fill my brain with their processes, and come back and implement and see what I can build
Mm-hmm.
in. And that's why I'm kind of an open book now, is because I've built my whole career off other entrepreneurs being open books and
Right.
helping me with learn. Because there's no college to learn home trades,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have a business degree, that's kind of useless for what we do unless you get into, you know, marketing and a whole
Mm-hmm.
bunch of math stuff. But what we're doing, it's wide open. We can build it however big you want. I imagine the next 3 years, this will be a $10 million a year handyman business.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that out of pure shock because my goal originally was, hey, in the next maybe in the next 15 or 20 years, by the time I retire, this thing can do $10 million a year in revenue. And
Wow.
I think we'll do it in year 6 is if I can find the manpower.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So my advice really to anybody watching this is you really have to decide what you want to do. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with your decision. If you're retired and you want to do handyman stuff to supplement your income, that's great. That's perfect. That's the best for you. If you want to just have 1 or 2 guys because you hate managing people, which I get it, it's absolutely exhausting. That is the route you got to go. But if you want to scale a business like this, and there's pros and cons to it, the risk, there's a lot more risk. The pros is that I can go on vacation for 2 weeks and it runs like a champ.
Right.
I don't have to be here. Last time I went on vacation for 10 days, I left. I took 2 phone calls. I checked my email. I came back. There was $100,000 more in the bank than when I left. They had fired a guy, hired 2 guys, put another guy in his truck.
Wow.
And I was like, who's that guy? He works here now? What's his name?
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Which is great. But if you're going to scale a business, any business, you have to come into it with going, that's the plan. I'm going to scale it. Now, how am I going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of planning involved. You have to build a scalable pricing structure. You have to build a scalable call center. You have to script stuff. You have to get your policies and procedures on paper, pretty tight. They're never going to be perfect. You can't leave it up to the individual in the truck to come up with his own pricing structure.
Mm-hmm.
You will be in the poorhouse.
Yeah.
You have to come up with a compensation plan that incentivizes your team out in the field to be as productive as possible and price jobs accordingly. If you are relying on hourly employees to go out and be as productive as possible and make the company profitable, I just don't see it happening.